Welcome back to the channel. Today, we are entering the Twilight Zone trade war, where reality meets fantasy, and the stakes couldn't be higher. Smash the like button and subscribe. Today, we're going to look at how the EU, the US, China, India, and Russia are playing an economic chess war that is so dangerous it could crumble the entire global economy. Imagine 100% tariffs on Chinese and Indian imports, rare earth blackmail, the European industries on the brink, and the US consumer is footing the majority of the bill. Will the EU take the bait, or will US companies survive in China? Let's break it down. The G7 is wobbling under conflicting pressures. On one hand, German officials are saying that China could choke their auto and electronic sectors by restricting rare earths. And on the other hand, you have Trump, who's demanding that the EU join in an assault of 100% tariffs on China and India to punish Putin's energy buyers. But there's a twist. If you levy these tariffs on the two largest economies in the world, the EU industries will sink faster than the Titanic. The EU can't cut wages or energy costs any further. Cheap imports from BRICS countries keep them afloat. Tariffs jeopardize that lifeline. Now, Europe already pledged $750 billion in expensive US energy purchases, which is driving up the consumer's cost in Europe. Meanwhile, in the first 5 months of 2025, China ran a record $120 billion trade surplus, and it's on track to hit $300 billion by the end of this year. Machinery, electronics, and chemicals, all vital inputs flowing to keep the industries in Europe humming. If you hit those with 100% tariffs, Europe industry's base will collapse. Tariffs become a trap, enforce them, and send manufacturing fleeing to the US, and that's part of Trump's plan. Now let's talk about who's paying the tariffs, because Goldman Sachs just released their numbers saying that 70% of tariffs are being paid by the consumers. That's you and me. 15% is being absorbed by the importers, and 15% are being absorbed by the exporters. What's happening here is the small businesses in America have taken a $200 billion hit in tariffs. This is squeezing their margins. And what happens is we enter this doom loop. Squeezed margins means that these businesses have to shave costs. And once they've done as much as they can, the final thing is to reduce headcount. By slashing jobs, this causes those people to go unemployed. Those records for unemployment go up. Delinquencies rise on credit cards and other payments like auto loans and houses. This causes more businesses to squeeze margins because they're not getting enough sales, which causes them to remove more employees, and the circle keeps going. And for American firms in China, it's basically they're playing nightmare mode on a hard game. Only 31% are optimistic about the next 5 years. In 2021, it was 80%. Over half see no reason to reinvest in China. And this means that their competition, and China has the most fierce competition, they're going to be eaten alive by their Chinese counterparts. And this is already happening in places like Lucky Coffee in China is basically destroying, and I really mean that, they're destroying Starbucks. And it's only a matter of time before American investors lose their investments to other companies in China who are overtaking their market share by continuing to invest and innovate in their sectors. As nationalistic buying spreads, local consumers are shunning US brands. Just like last year in the Middle East, they boycotted a lot of American brands. In India today, we heard about a toothpaste company that was urging consumers to ditch American brands and buying local. Neighbors like Canada, where I live, have also been striking back at the US. From June to August, Canadians made 33% less visits. That's 3 million less visits to the US, costing the US tourism billions. Tariffs backfire globally, and the US economy bears the majority of that through lost tourism and service dollars in retail and other sectors. Is the EU going to bite and actually impose these tariffs? Some would consider them draconian tariffs. If they do, their industries are going to get crushed. The other thing that you have to keep in mind is if that does happen, the euro will tumble, strengthening the US dollar. Now, that's a powerful side effect that Trump thinks people in the EU are not paying attention to. But it's like everything he's asking for is strategically set up to boost America and crush its allies. And why would anyone want to do that to their own country and their own industries? If Europe resists, China and India will keep their cheap oil coming in from Russia, and Russia's economy stays afloat and they can continue their war. Meanwhile, the Americans and their manufacturers and consumers will get squeezed again and again. It's a high-stakes game of economics. And today, there was another piece of news that came out that I'm going to share where the Hyundai LG factory that's going to be producing batteries in Georgia in the US was raided by ICE. And all the Koreans that were working there, putting this factory together to create American jobs, were arrested and thrown in detention centers. They were later flown out of the country. And now this manufacturing beast for batteries that Hyundai was creating is on hold. The Korean president said that it'll delay things by 2 to 3 months because these jobs can't be replaced by Americans. They don't have the training. You can't simply bring someone in off the street to do this job. And these Koreans weren't there making money. They were there building a factory that was going to make America money. And what does Trump do after that? He's asking Korea when the factory is going to be done. Now, I know some of these channels that I've watched around the Korean sector, and they said that in Korea, when the president or someone in high power says this is going to be delayed by 2 to 3 months, that's just them speaking politely. But in reality, this project is more than likely going to be delayed indefinitely. So tell me, will the EU heed Washington's call, or are they going to protect their own lifeline? And how will American companies ever survive in this trade war? Drop your thoughts below. I'd like to see your comments on the subject. And make sure you subscribe to the channel for analysis like this that we're going to be doing over and over until we end this charade. Until next time, stay safe, and I'll catch you in the next one.